So it's interesting to me, though, Jake, that for the last 4 years underneath President Biden, not one Democrat asked for the files to be released. Now they're all about transparency. But yet President Trump is the most transparent president we've had. I mean, look, you wrote the book literally on the biggest cover-up from the Biden administration, the cover-up that the previous administration covered completely for President Biden the whole time he was in office. So transparency is what we're all about. But the Democrats are trying to distract from their awful record and from the questions they need to ask, like who was signing the executive orders as an auto pen? Who was actually choosing to continue to run the Russian Gate when we know it was a huge hoax? Who was making the decisions at the White House? And they can't answer that, so they're deciding to run a distraction by this Epstein file when it's a big hoax, and the American people know it because they never said a word about it when Biden was in office.
But let's just take a step back here. The reason that we're here where we are is because for years, President Trump and the MAGA base and Trump's allies have been calling for the release of the Epstein files. And then after taking office, take a listen to what Attorney General Pam Bondi has been saying over the course of the past few months. Take a listen.
What you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names. Everything's going to come out to the public. The public has a right to know. Americans have a right to know. There are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children.
Now the administration is saying they can't release this information. Now, I understand you're talking about a resolution you offered calling for the grand jury to release transcripts from the grand jury investigation into Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and a judge said no. But there's troves of information that the administration could release tomorrow if they wanted to, and they've been promising to, and they haven't.
Oh, Jake, that's not true. You know better than that too, because you know every piece of file that they have, every video, every document, every flight log has all been heard by a grand jury. They've all been seen by a grand jury, and we want the judges to release it. Pam Bondi has called on the judges to release it. Trump has called on them to release it, and the Congress has called on them to release it. But we can't because there is a true co-equal branches of government, so we can't force the judicial branch to do anything. All we can do is ask them to do it. We assume
I'm not talking about
that the judges would release it.
I'm not talking about the grand jury stuff.
There isn't, Jake, there isn't one piece of document that Kash Patel at the FBI or Pam Bondi in her office has that a grand jury hasn't seen. So everything that they have
she was
would
talking
have
about
to be
releasing this
released
information
by the judges.
She was talking about releasing this information. She could release it tomorrow. She doesn't.
She was, but she can't. No, she can't release it until the judges release it. Because if it's been heard by a grand jury, and Jake, you know this, if it's been heard by a grand jury, regardless if Pam Bondi has it or the FBI has it, the judge that overseen the case that the grand jury listened to and saw the documentation and the evidence has to be released by the judge. And you know that.
I don't think that that's correct. I think that the FBI and the Southern District of New York and the Southern District of Florida, and just because something has been shown before a grand jury, that doesn't mean it is only going to be, it can only be released to the public by a judge. If the FBI has it, they can release it.
Then why did the judge refuse to release the records in Florida? Because once it's been heard in a case, it is a sealed case. It is sealed by the grand jury. And you have been through this. I don't know why we're even debating this, because if it is considered evidence in a case, then it is sealed.
The information that has been released.
Bring a separate judge on and ask them the same question.
Grand jury hearings and transcripts, the judge has control over. Absolutely. That doesn't mean that everything that went into the grand jury is therefore locked from the public. It does not work that way, and that's why Attorney General Bondi was saying for months. Well, then tell me why for months she was saying that she's going to release the information tomorrow.
We made the assumption that the judges would release the order and allow the evidence that they had that it could be heard. But it's all been sealed. And so if it's been a sealed case, we can't release it until the judges allow us to release it. And you would think common sense would play. That's why they asked for transparency. We want transparency. We want the judges to have transparency in this too.